Lock your Wednesday evening for high-level networking, learning, and fellowship. It's about raising leaders and shaping vision to influence society through Christ. Practical Christianity Hangouts, exploring biblical answers to questions on economics, finance, leadership, governance, and the contemporary issues of our time. ICGC, the New Wine Temple, East Legon. This and every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be a power networking and cocktail session right after the program. Prepare to be pace setters in your family, ministry, business, finance, profession, governance, and your social life. Practical Christianity Hangouts. Join us this Wednesday evening and bring a friend. ICGC New Wine Temple. We are one big family in Christ.
Hello everyone. A very good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're able to make it in person this evening, as the weather was being some way. Shall we please bow our heads in prayer before we start the program? We thank the Almighty God for our gathering today. We pray for the presence of the Holy Spirit to bring guidance and wisdom, and that the purpose of this meeting will be fulfilled. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. On behalf of Pastor Albert and Lady Comfort Okran, I warmly welcome each and every one of you in person and online as well. We are ICGC, the New Wine Temple. A special welcome to our fantastic midweek service, the Practical Christianity Hangout. We had such an interesting time last week on branding ourselves and filling up the big shoes. And they even showed us how to do some body gestures to look and feel in charge. Well, tonight we take you a notch higher. You know, we always bring you the best on making a difference and exploring untapped job opportunities. The Practical Christianity Hangout is for me and you, for leaders and leaders in the making. It's a mentoring program where we bring Christian professionals to inspire us by sharing a bit of themselves with us. And also, we have a network session just after this one. So please do not be in a hurry to leave. You have to see or meet someone new today. Take somebody's contact. You never know when you need a person. If you were earlier at 5 p.m., tonight or today, we had 16 different sessions, 16 different coaching sessions, 16 different coaching sessions, and we are glad you all were able to make it. This program is all about you, so we want to hear from you. Please share your experiences, send your questions, your comments, feedback, suggestions on all our online platforms, or simply send us a WhatsApp on 0249999000. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding clap, shall we please welcome the host of Practical Christianity, Reverend Albert Okran.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful day. If you're excited to be here, let that applause reflect your enthusiasm. If it's okay with you, just turn to somebody, give them a smile. Give them some smile that they will remember for a long time, at least for a month. Give somebody a smile and welcome them. If it's okay to give them a high five, just tap them and say, welcome, good to see you. We'd like to welcome all those joining us across the various continents of the world. We are aware that our online presence is very diverse and strong. Wherever you are joining us from whatever jurisdiction, you are welcome. And those of you here in person, what will we do without you? So the New Wine Temple ICGC is very excited to welcome all of us to PCH Season 2 Hangouts. This is actually the 9th gathering since we started on 12th of March 2023. Our first season had 6 different interactions that focused on stepping out into the unknown. Our anchor scripture was Genesis 12:1 and 2, and we had different professionals sharing their journeys with all the uncertainties, the obstacles they had to overcome, and how they navigated their way all the way to the top. Our theme for this second season is making a difference and exploring untapped job opportunities. For a few weeks now, we've been talking about the challenge of unemployment in Africa and trying to point out the sectors where the business was, or the fastest growing industries in the continent in the past year or so. We've had 2 sessions in season 2 already, and we have 3 special sessions coming up. Each of these would have 2 top professionals speaking to aspects of our theme and helping us to understand the importance of jobs and opportunities. Let me take a minute with the pastoral part of myself to explain why jobs and opportunities are important. Let's take 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. 2 Thessalonians 3:10, and it says from the Amplified that, "For even while we were with you, we used to give you this order. If anyone is not willing to work," I like this version because it highlights the issue of willingness. "If anyone is not willing to work, then he is not to eat either." So the challenge here is that if somebody is willing, desirous, and committed to work, then we must look at how to create opportunities for them to work so they can eat. So this is one of the anchor pivots around which this practical Christianity Hangout focuses. So PCH is drawn from the ICGC theme of raising leaders, and then also our philosophy of practical Christianity. Today we are focusing on technical and vocational skills. Our speakers will shortly be introduced. 2 people that I love and celebrate very much. Constance Swaniker, who will talk about jobs and opportunities in the technical and vocational sectors, while Dr. Newman Arthur will take us through a discussion on how to leverage different talents and create multiple income streams. Just so you get some comfort, TVET is actually in the scriptures. So go with me to Exodus 31, and I would read from verse 1. And it says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, See, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Er, of the tribe of Judah. And I filled him with the spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, in knowledge, and all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold, in silver, in bronze, in cutting jewels for setting, in carving wood, and to work in all manner of workmanship." Constance, it's right there in the scriptures. So this is our focus for today. Different skills, different talents, different abilities, and excelling in them and creating jobs as a result. While we are gathered, let me preempt what we'll be doing next week. Next week, we'll be talking about reskilling and upskilling to remain relevant in a changing world. We'll be welcoming all the way from Manchester Business School, Professor P.K. Richardson. And then we'll also welcome one of the top HR professionals you will find anywhere in this continent, Rosie Ebeata. They'll be speaking about reskilling or upskilling to stay relevant in a world that is changing so fast. Then the last session in this season, before we break the PCH train for a while, will be on jobs and opportunities in agribusiness and digital media. We've had a fantastic session already with my big sister Felicia Chumesi, but we'll be welcoming on the 21st, Catherine Krobeduse, CEO of Eden Tree, and Maximus Ametogo to talk about space, the digital spaces, and the opportunities that are there. Today is special because New Wine Temple is pleased to announce some wonderful partnerships. And when I mention the name, just let the partners hear the applause that will make them feel very, very special. Let's first welcome the Ghana Growth Program Consortium. Let's put our hands together for them. I love this. Let's welcome the MasterCard Foundation. Let's welcome our friends from the Access Human Capital. Let's acknowledge the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Let's welcome Limehouse. And please, our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group, let's put our hands together for them. And then very, 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 very special applause for our students from DTI. Let's hear a round of applause. I want to shout to my friends. Thank you so much, the Design and Technology Institute, for making time to be with us. Our expectation as organizers is that the PCH intervention will greatly benefit young people by creating direct face-to-face interaction with industry leaders from various sectors. We also look out for providing entrepreneurial orientation, job readiness, and possibly job placement, and that is one of our biggest focuses in this conversation. Every participant here gets the opportunity to be onboarded for the Ghana Growth Program that looks out for opportunities for jobs for young people, and would like to encourage you to sign up so you can be notified about opportunities that would come up. The small slip given to you is for registering for our weekly giveaway. I know it's a very special feature here. So today for our giveaways, we are giving out 3 giveaways. We are giving out a set of books. A second one is a set of books. And the third one, I think, is by popular request. Per the request of those who have come earlier, is a brand new mobile phone with a pack of accessories to go to one person. Somebody told me I can see myself winning that one. So it's going to go to you at the end of the session. Before I introduce our resource persons for today, let me welcome my good friend, Comfort Okran, to give us perspective on the Ghana Growth Program. Let's welcome Comfort. Where's Comfort? Why, you don't believe she's my good friend? Very good friend.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Really, really great to have you all here. And we have been preparing so much for today. It's been a privilege to have you here, and I hope you all enjoy yourself. Now, the Ghana Growth Program is a collaboration. It is a partnership. It's a co-creation. It's a partnership that looks at how do we change the perspective that people have about the agriculture and ATVET sectors. And we are not talking about just thinking about a farmer that is in the field and is digging the ground. We are not thinking about when we were in school and we are asked to read for our punishment. We are not talking about where, when we say ATVET, we think about people who did not have any opportunity, so that is where we go. We're talking about the opportunities whereby with your digital skills, the innovative ICT that you have learned, you can go into the world of work and find meaningful work. That meaningful work will be one that you would enjoy. It's one that looks at your skills and builds on it. It's one that helps you open space, find employment for others in your world. So Ghana Grows is a perception change program that will run for 3 years. We are doing this in connection, in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, and we have them here today, and we are very grateful. It has been a long journey where we have worked for over 2 years to bring this project together. And I can assure you, the project is simply amazing. Now, part of it is that we decided that it's not enough to just change people's perception. Why don't we look at the opportunity of finding jobs? So then, when we tell people that there is an expanded agri chain, which looks at the inputs, it looks at transportation, it looks at growing production, it looks like at ensuring that the production that you do, it doesn't, the produce, you don't lose 50% on the farm and then lose another 20% in the market. But we have people, off-takers, who are able to produce this or add value to that. So then we can have soaps that use organic products and all that kind of stuff, so that people know that in the end, when I do my marketing, I don't need to find a job in 5 to 6 job there, but I can go to an agribusiness and practice marketing because I need to market their products. In the same way, wherever you find your space, you are able to play there. So Ghana Grows is here to change our perceptions, to show us what the extended value chain looks at, and most importantly, to create jobs for 115,000 young people minimum. The program will take place across Ghana. We are starting with a pilot in 48 districts. If you're a lucky district, I tell you, there's so much that would happen there. We have programs that would ensure that we work with young ladies, show them how they will be in charge of their world, and most importantly, show them how their voices are extremely important in building our country. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our first outing. This is where we show the world that there is Ghana Grows, and Ghana Grows is here to make a difference in our world. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Come forward. Let's put our hands together for her. It's just exciting to think that last 2 weeks, a young man walked up to me and said, of one of our speakers, please call him tomorrow. It was late in the evening. We had just closed PCH. He says, call him tomorrow and thank him for me. And I said, I will. He told me the name, one of our speakers who has been here. I don't want to mention the name. He says, thank him for me. And I said, I will thank him. He says, say it like the way I'm telling you. If you can't say it, can I record it? And I asked him what happened. He says, when they closed the PCH and went for the interaction time, he went straight to the CEO that he has admired for years and started a conversation with him. And guess what? As they began to speak, the CEO remembered that they were looking for exactly the skills the young man had. So the next day, he was asked to report at work. And when he was talking to me, he had worked for 1 week and just wanted to say thank you. You may never know what will happen here at the PCH, but it will be our joy to be able to report week after week that the young people of Ghana have been helped to find jobs. I recall one day when one CEO said, you know what, it's just interesting that you're writing down names of the unemployed. I actually have 5 jobs right now as we speak, 4 in marketing and 1 in accounting. If any of them qualifies, let them come. We think it is possible. We believe it's possible. We are very determined to make a mark in creating jobs for our young people, first here and then, of course, across the country, in our small corner, and then across the country as best as we can. This is a conversation about technical and vocational sectors, and then also, very importantly, about using your talent to earn multiple income streams. There will be a first presentation for 25 minutes, followed by a second presentation for 25 minutes, and then we'll get on the stage with 3 resource persons and have a beautiful conversation. And at that point, it's your questions that drive the discussion, so write them down. If you're watching us online, start posting your questions in the stream, and we'll answer them when we come up for the panel discussion. Right after this, the video introduction will precede our very first speaker.
Constance Swaniker started her business in 2000, just 1 year after graduating from art school. Several years later, the construction firm she founded, Accents and Art Limited, is a leading provider of wrought iron and wood furnishings in Ghana. Her business merges art with practical design and offers full-time employment to several artisans. Constance had a pre-university education in Gambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Ghana, where she obtained an undergraduate degree in fine arts from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, in 1999. She is a Stanford Seed Fellow and chairs the sector skills body of Ghana's Commission for TVET, on which she is a board member. Constance Swaniker has trained numerous university students and craftsmen and women in the informal sector. She established the Design and Technology Institute, DTI, in 2016 to bridge the academia-industry divide. DTI, an accredited private TVET institution, runs 3 courses in metal fabrication, design innovation, and entrepreneurship. DTI has won recognition and funding from the MasterCard Foundation and SIFA. Constance has exhibited her works in Africa and Europe and won numerous local and international awards. She is a dedicated mother of 2 who aspires to leave a positive mark on society and inspire the youth to live their dreams no matter the challenge. Over the years, Constance's story and achievements have encouraged a lot more young women to confidently venture into technical vocations traditionally set aside for men. With a resounding round of applause, welcome Miss Constance Swaniker.
Thank you very much. It seems like it's morning assembly and I see so many familiar faces from DTI, so this feels like home. Thank you very much for having me here this evening and for extending the invitation also to our learners. We don't call them students, but we actually call them learners. And so happy to see you guys here. So I'm here to speak about my journey. I have a presentation to share with you. And then just to discuss the many opportunities that exist when you use your hands. And so I liked the quote that you shared. I had never seen that before. But one thing that I know is that God has blessed us all with talents. One thing that I stress to the learners at DTI, that nobody owes you anything. We were not born to be lazy. We were not born to not work, because there's dignity in labor. That's one thing that my grandmother always stressed, that there's dignity in labor. So no matter what you do, so far as you're working, whether it's using your brains or your hands, once you find it dignified and fulfilling, and you're also living up to the talents that God has given you. So we're going to really talk about why young people think that if you work in a technical vocational space, then that means that you're not intelligent and things. And I think that as learners from DTI, I'd like to emphasize that 1/3 of our learners are actually graduates. Graduates from university who got first class in engineering, you name it, and have sat at home for 2-3 years and couldn't find jobs. Because we call it what we call a skills mismatch. Especially crucially at a time like this where you're studying things that are not relevant for the job market. And so this conversation really is not about a conversation about perception, but the jobs that are out there for young people. And so I'd like to begin my presentation. I'd like to just stand here so I can speak to the presentation. And as you can see, look at how our learners look really smart. Our learners typically would work in very, very high quality jobs. And I would like to talk about, first of all, the mission, why we do what we do. So basically, we're looking at why Africa needs to transform, and transform very quickly. And so our mission is to make a difference in youth TVET livelihoods and to be globally known, not just in Ghana, but globally known for producing ethical, competent professionals with practical skills. And so this is what we stress as our mission. And to redefine TVET and to really change the perception of what TVET is all about. And so this is our campus. When we built the campus, we realized that it was very important for us to really change the narrative around TVET. The reason why a lot of you probably wouldn't want to go to the technical schools that you see, it looks quite bad, doesn't it? And so we hope that platforms like this also will really help schools that are really in the skills sector realize that if we are going to talk about changing the narrative, then the way we package the whole sector really needs to be looked at. And so DTI is a center of excellence. We're not a TVET school, I like to say, but we're actually a skilling center, a skilling institute. So we deliberately don't use these words like TVET. And so in rebranding it, we're a skills and education institute. Now, when I set up to build a school, everybody thought I was crazy. And I had worked in industry for 23 years, and almost all the jobs that I was working on, I was working alongside expatriate staff. And when I talk about expatriate staff, I'm not talking about the Togolese tilers that you know. Italian tilers, interior decorators from Morocco, Zimbabwe, you name it. The Chinese, Indians, and most of the time I was the only Ghanaian subcontractor working on some of these high-end jobs. And what they kept saying was that we can't find artisans who have the skill sets that we're looking for. And that was the reason why they were bringing expat labor in. And so I realized that there was something fundamentally wrong. And so when you look at what defines our vision, it was really carefully thought about. How do we redefine TVET and create industrial skills development in Africa? How are we also going to be the forefront or really spearheading this change that we're looking at? The training at DTI is also very holistic. It all starts from the mind. And I find that once you have a fixed mindset, then that means that you're stuck where you are. And so the curriculum is defined such that our learners that come out are offered very holistic training, and we're churning out lifelong learning. So as we go on, you find that actually 60% of our curriculum is all soft skills, because we find that it's even more crucial in transitioning young people to work than hard skills. To create an environment in which innovation and creativity will thrive. For those of you who have had the opportunity to visit the campus, as soon as you walk through our doors, you are truly inspired. Because we also believe that creativity and innovation is really the bedrock of everything that we're talking about today. And to be wildly admired for doing the right thing for our people. When we talk about ethics, how do we, I always tell my students that integrity means doing the right thing when nobody's watching you. A lot of you have worked with artisans and the horror stories. He will tell you he's on his way, but 5 hours later, you are still waiting for this artisan and he still hasn't shown up. At DTI, if you come to school 1 minute late, you know what happens, right? Because we believe that transitions to work starts from day one. From day one. Next slide. Now let's talk about the big why we're all here. Why are we doing what we do? Why was DTI set up? Why is Reverend and Mrs. Okran doing what we're doing? We're all very worried about what the youth unemployment situation is in Ghana. And remember what I said, nobody owes you anything, right? Nobody owes you anything. Now look at the statistics. 32% of young people that will graduate will be unemployed. It's not as if there are no jobs. I always tell people that there are jobs. But the jobs that are out there is not what you're studying. We talked about why are we also focused on agriculture. We'll go to some of the sectors as the slide goes on where the jobs are. So this statistic should move from 32% to what? 0, right? We don't want to see this. I don't think any country likes it when you're portrayed as such. I don't think so. Now look at the potential that Africa also has. We are the youngest continent in the world. And the beauty about our continent also is that we will be the next global workforce. A few weeks ago, I was in India when their population surpassed that of China, and they were jubilating. Can you imagine? And you know why? Because during COVID, the world realized that manufacturing was all in China. How did that happen, right? How did that happen? And so if you ordered things and you were waiting for your container, you got your goods or your products 1 year later. So all of a sudden, the world realized that there was something wrong, and so they're looking for new manufacturing grounds. Now look at the opportunity that this presents. So India was jubilating that they were bigger than China, but when you combine all our populations, we are also the same size as India. Do you see the picture? You see the picture. And I was there when Apple Computers opened its first factory in India. Because India and China are also what we call a lot of trade wars. So they're not happy that all their companies are also sited in China, and they also now are facing also unemployment issues. So we look at the human capital as the new trading currency. Do you understand what I'm saying? Human capital as the new human currency. So let's look at some of the issues that really hinder why Africa is unable to currently plug into this big picture that I'm painting. The skills mismatch. Let's go back to the next slide, please. And this is what I was talking about. Graduates that will graduate and they can't find jobs or can't work into these highly specialized manufacturing companies that would like to come to Africa because we have the labor, but what is missing is the skills mismatch. We're not training young people to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. And then look at the outdated curricula. I graduated from KNUST 23 years ago. I don't want my lecturers to hear this, but I hated university. I was studying something that I was doing a degree in arts, and I was doing book art. How is that? Art for art's sake. And then our classmates who were doing architecture and all the engineering courses would laugh at us because, oh, look at those artists. If you couldn't go into medical school or even social science, then, oh, just go to College of Art. But some of us were there because we truly were talented and gifted. So if I tell you 99% of my mates that I graduated with ended up in the banks, sad, right? Why were you in the College of Art? Now, when that happened, as I said, I really didn't enjoy university because I knew that the world was big and my oyster was bigger than what I was studying. And a lot of you know my story, so I don't want to stress on that, but I found myself working in a carpentry workshop. And that was when I realized that the curriculum that we were using 23 years ago. So now you can imagine, fast forward, curricula really hasn't adapted to meet the needs of industry. So you're training out graduates that are coming out, but they're not meeting the demands of industry. So this is something that we're working at the policy level with our Ministry of Education and all the relevant stakeholders to quickly bring and bridge the gap between academia and industry so that we quickly look at how we can adapt the curriculum to meet these demands. Then I also talked about the poor perception of TVET. They laughed at us when I was in university. And I was in university. So you can imagine for learners who don't have the opportunity to enter university, what that looks like, right? I talked about very little industry-academic interaction. So you are a professor, you've never been on a site, but you say you are training engineers. Engineers who come wearing white coats, but yet they are expected to get into the trench, because even if you are supervising the artisans that are working on, you should know what they are doing. Then what sort of supervisor are you? So look at what is also happening. Then I would like to stress on this mindset shift about precision quality. How do we do things and do it properly? You see the roadside artisans that we know. When you go and buy a piece of furniture and you are buying 4, every single piece of furniture will be different. Because they have this thing of, oh, buga buga, oh, but madam, even if the chair is 13 point, whatever, just take it like that, but it's fine. Why are you being so difficult? And you know why? Because we don't have this understanding that when you're doing things, you're competing globally. Your clients can go to Oka and buy cheap boardwood, but at least it's finished nicely. So if I am the customer and I have money, I'm not going to buy from the roadside artisan whose things are, and you are telling me value for money. This is not value for money. So how do we begin to have this mindset of understanding that, and I know that God loves beautiful things, that when we say beauty, how do we take pride in our craftsmanship? It starts from the mind. And so this is the soft skills that we're talking about. Everything that you do before it comes out and is translated through your hands starts from the mind. So this is what drives everything that we do at DTI. The next slide, please. So we talk about my journey. ANA was established the year 2000. I graduated in June 1999. And 6 months later, I founded Accent and Art. We just turned 23. Every time I speak, young people ask me, oh, did you get seed capital? Did I say that? No. No seed capital, no nothing. It was just an idea and a passion, because I knew that I had a gift and I had a talent. Went to Registrar General, sole proprietorship, a little bit of seed capital from my mother, bought 1 or 2 machines, and that began the journey of Accent and Art. But 15 years after I had embarked on the journey, I had this calling to give back and to pay it forward, because I realized that I wasn't seeing Ghanaians working on some of these very high-end projects that we're working on. And the reason why we're able to break into the sector was because of this precision quality mindset that we had. So we're doing things that I really was not seeing Ghanaian artisans. Also, I realized that there was a big gap. And so we went back to the universities and we started opening our factory floor to young people from universities and our communities to join our artisans on the workshop floor. join us when we were working on sites so that they begin to see that it was very important for you to do your apprenticeship, to learn on the job. And that really led to the establishment of DTI when I saw that there was a big need to set up a school that will cater just to bridging this gap between academia and industry. We started with a vision to just work in the ecosystem in the ECOWAS region, but we realized that this vision transcended the ECOWAS region, but it was a whole African problem. And so in 2019, having given opportunities to about 600 young people, we were bursting at the seams, and it necessitated the need for us to build and dedicate a whole campus to just skilling. And so in 2019, we established the Design and Technology Institute with 3 programs: precision welding and fabrication, design innovation, entrepreneurship. We're going to be adding agri technologies, and then we're also going to be looking at the creative industries. Eventually, we want to add on industrial plumbing and industrial electricals. Not the electricians that we know, but industrial plumbing and industrial electricals. In 2019, when you do good work without expecting anything back, but by paying it forward, the MasterCard Foundation found us in Bubuashi, in that little small workshop, because they saw and they believed in the vision, and they could see where we were going. And so we partnered with them under their Young Africa Works strategy to create 40,000 direct and indirect jobs for young people. And I'm proud to announce that as we speak, we've created over 30,000 job opportunities, verified for young people. Now, I'd like to stress that when we say direct and indirect jobs, when one person is well-trained, look at the multiplier effect. Because if you're an artisan and you're well-trained, look at the jobs that will come to you, which means that you need to hire more workers to work with, and look at the multiplier effect, which means that the suppliers you work with. And so when we talk about doing things and doing it well, we want to charge young people that we want you to have this understanding that this investment in you is to create 3 jobs per student. So this is Okran, just so that you know that 150 can translate into 300,000 to 450,000. So that is the call to action, that when we invest in you, all these speakers that you had the opportunity to listen to, I don't think anybody here is expecting anything from anybody. But it's our paying it forward that when we give you these life skills, your responsibility is also to create 3 jobs per student. Now, having worked in the space, we realized that this youth unemployment issue was much bigger than we imagined. And so we started and embarked on what we call, how do we look at the root cause and work all the way to the policy level to change laws and enact laws that would ensure that outmoded curricula, the reason why artisans cannot work with a precision quality mindset, all these things would then look at the bigger holistic picture. And so we established what we call the Precision Quality Center of Excellence, and I'm proud to say that we have a professor in residence that works with us and a couple of academics. We also work with the labor market labor economies, because we're working on labor market information systems. Labor market information systems then really looks at data. How do we collect data to inform policy? Policy can only be enacted when you have law, data that proves concept. And so we work with the Ministry of Labor and Employment Relations to really look at the youth issues, so that if you're telling me that 32% has moved to this, what proves that? And so we also do what we call the tracer studies, We track each student that goes through our doors, all the students that go through our summer programs, and we can tell you where each student is, what they're doing. And so that's very important that we also then conduct data. We'll go on fast, and then I think I have just a few minutes left, and then get to the next part. The next slide, please. So this is something very interesting that I'd also like to stress. We run what we call the dual TVET system. Remember, I said that DTI was birthed on the factory floors of ANA. So those of you who have siblings that are in the medical school, ANA is like your Kolebu and the medical school. So our students are typically in class twice a week, and 3 times a week they're on the factory floors of ANA, working on real-life customers' jobs. So when I give you a chair to produce, cut it wrong and let me see. Because that's what production losses, so that you learn exactly what happens on the factory floor before you even transition into work. So when you come onto the ANA factory floor, you see our students working alongside our artisans, reading blueprints, seeing all sorts of things that they never would get in the classroom. So that real hands-on experience is something that we also do uniquely at DTI as well. So they have that hands-on work experience, as I said. We also talked about employability skills, which really is the soft skills curriculum that we run. And so we are supported with 2 clinical psychologists. We have them here, because when you come and you say you have issues, the clinical psychologist is there. Go and have a chat with him, because we realize that young people also have a lot of baggage. They have a lot of issues, especially young people who are bombarded with so much information overload. How do we walk your transformation journey with you? We also have a strong emphasis on extracurricular, because we realize that through drama, through dance, through all these things that allows your confidence, your presentation skills, and all those things that will enable you to transition well, are things that we deliberately also embedded in our programming. I talked about precision quality movement, so I'll just talk about just briefly what it means, to highlight the value of precision industries and quality products and services in job creation. Remember, you are competing in a global market. So even if you say you are producing whatever, and I can go to Melcom and buy something that is really well packaged, nobody will buy your products. And so we work with the Ghana Standards Board as well to ensure that everything that we do has standards measuring how we do things. And so this is a concept that we also have worked with on the Ghana Standards Board. And I'm happy to say that, as I said, we work at the policy level. And last year, the Ghana Standards Board came up with what we call the Ghana Standards Act, and Section 6.2, for the first time, nobody had heard of this mindset shift, was embedded in the Ghana Standards Act. So that's something that we also did in the country. So for those of you who have anything, when you look closely, you see what we call the standard seal. The Bell Aqua bottle has the Ghana Standards Act, isn't it? So everything that you produce should now have a standard seal, so that customers will trust what they're buying because they know that it's been well done. Next slide, please. I talked about some of the 21st century skills that are so crucial. These are things that you can't cut or build, but look at it. Critical thinking, citizenship, growth mindset, communication, creativity, and collaboration. How do you work with your teams? How do you do all these things that crucially are also very important and are relevant 21st century skills? This is something that I saw a couple of days ago, talked about the future of work. Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence. Now look at this. All of you have heard of ChatGPT, and skills and a couple of jobs that we know it completely will be wiped off. Now look at this. Hey, ChatGPT, finish this building, and look at what it said. Your skills are irreplaceable. Deep, right? I share this with you so that you really look at where the world is going. With advances in technology, if we really don't look at the future of work and where it's going. So now let's look at the future, Industry 5.0. This is something that you can look at, but I'd like to also end by bringing it down to why we're here. That in Africa, the future of work is in the agribusinesses, but as Mrs. O'Brien said, it's not farming as we know it, but we're looking at light manufacturing. We're looking at producing machines. For those of you at DTI, the engineering aspects of what you do. Those of you that are doing multimedia, how do you then package? How do you then make sure that the packaging, the labeling, all these things that then really looks at the value addition from farm to table? Look at the endless opportunities that exist, not just in agriculture, but we'll look quickly at the slides for you to see the industries that are out there, if we can quickly move on. There you go, agriculture, number one. Then we also looked at information, communication, and technology, the creative industries, construction, automobile industries, and extractive and oil and gas. But look at what is featuring as number one. So I hope with this gives you a broad sense of what is out there and what is possible. Thank you very much.
Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur has over 12 years of clinical experience in managing medical and mental health related issues. He has worked with several governmental and private health institutions and corporate organizations, as well as providing online services for local and international clients. Dr. Newman Arthur is the acting director of the Medical Directorate or the University of Professional Studies in Accra. He also serves as the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Psychological Association. He offers part-time consultancy services for Acacia Medical Center, Britannia Medical Center, and the Port Clinic. He is a part-time lecturer at the Family Health Medical University and the ICGC's Daniel Institute. Dr. Newman Arthur is a media personality, consultant for several media organizations, and a regular guest on various TV and radio programs in Ghana and abroad. As a public speaker, he has been featured for over 20 years at various conferences for faith-based organizations, NGOs, and corporate institutions. He is the author of 5 books on mental health, purpose, marriage, and relationships. In his spare time, he engages in creative carpentry and graphic designing. He is married with 2 children. With a resounding round of applause, welcome Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur.
There's a way that God has cut for you, and right from childhood, your parents are supposed to identify your talents and skills and lead you in that way. There are some families, parents are living their lives through their kids. So he was a failed doctor. His dream didn't come to pass as a doctor. So he said, if I look at your head, you are a doctor. Or we don't have lawyers in this, in this house. So you're going to be a lawyer. And that creates a lot of problems for kids. So parenting I think is the most important thing when it comes to fulfilling, some of the dreams that God has for you. And unfortunately, a lot of parents are failing. Please go to my slides. Okay. So I'm going to share with you how to leverage your skills and abilities. That is what I'm going to share with you. And I put all those things here for a reason. I'll show you. There are some pictures I'm going to show you about some of the basic things that I have done, for some people. I'm a doctor and a carpenter. How does that even match? Please go ahead. So they called me to do this. And I actually have every carpentry tool you can think about. Please show the next one. So I came up with this for this client. Please go ahead. Someone called me, they don't like the bed, do something about it. So I changed it. The same bed, I transformed it. Next one. Someone gave me this. I went to the house and I saw they wanted to throw away 6 dining hall tables. I said, chairs. I said, don't throw it away. Let me do something with it. And I came up with this. Please go ahead. God has been good. Oh. So I wanted some nice chairs in my room. I said, why am I going around looking for chairs? Why I can do something with the plastic chairs I have? Then I changed it. Go ahead. I changed it. Next one, lectins. And usually I don't repeat these designs. Go ahead. This is an offering bowl. This one is communion table. I realized that, pastors, usually people have tables and they will put some cloth around it. So why not do something about, the pastor's table and communion wine? Maybe I'll do one of this for this church. Reverend, I promise. I'll bring this one, the wine, the communion table for you. Please go ahead. Then I went to a certain house. The person who left the place in a very, very bad state. And so I wanted to do something about it. Please go ahead. This is what happened. Go ahead. I changed it. Please go ahead. This is what I saw when I went there. It was an eyesore. Please go ahead. I changed it. Right. And I did the floor myself. I used just that. Then this place too wasn't good. The person needed some, so I changed it. Okay. Please go ahead. So why do you have to succeed? I'm sure we are talking about why you should succeed. Most of the sessions is meant to tell you that you need to succeed. The reason is that it is in your purpose to succeed. And God's glory is at stake if you don't succeed. Because your success is what protects God's glory. So if you read John chapter 17 verse 4, the Bible says, I brought glory to you on earth by completing the assignment you gave me to do. So everything that you're doing on earth, when I was listening to it, I was so challenged. It is God's glory that is protected. Because a lot of people's life have been changed because of that. So when you discover yourself and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're actually protecting and preserving God's glory. Right? And if you read Matthew chapter 5 verse 16, the Bible says that let your light so shine that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. So when people see you succeed, they have a reason to bless God. They have a reason to say God is alive by seeing what you're doing with your life. So you have to desire to succeed because it's in your destiny to succeed, and also God's glory is at stake if you don't succeed. We never associated failure with God. We never do that because everybody thinks that if you say there is God, you must be able to give us an evidence that there is God. So one of the ways to be able to prove God's existence is when you succeed. And there are two ways to succeed. Please go ahead. There are two ways. We call one divine efforts, and the second is what we call human efforts. Two ways to succeed. Divine efforts and human efforts. Divine efforts are the things that God himself has to do for you to succeed. So because God created you, he has a direct responsibility towards you to make you succeed. So when you read Psalm 23, the Bible talks about the fact that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He does this, he does that, he does that. So all of us here have some belief in God because we know that God must be able to help us. So there is some divine hand to be able to help us. So I believe in God because I know God exists. And I know God, is a helper. God is able to provide. God is able to guide. God is able to empower. And even how you look, your creation was not just by you. Someone created you. So there is God in the picture. But the second way to succeed is what we call human efforts. Human efforts are the things that God expects you to be doing yourself in order to partner with him to succeed. And that is where the problem is. A lot of people are praying their way into success. But success alone is not a product of prayer, but a product of divine efforts and human efforts. And that is where the problem is. People are praying about things that God wants them to fix. Nobody goes to where you make Toyota and say, as I clap my hands and pray, let the parts appear. Like this morning, when you went to bath, maybe some people doing bath. When you went to bath, you didn't say, as I clap my hands, let soap rub over my body. It doesn't happen that way. So even when it comes to marriage, you may pray about it, God may link you to something, but to sustain the marriage is human efforts. So most of the people who divorce, they only come and complain about things this person didn't do, this person did. So human efforts are important. So if you read the scripture, please go ahead. The Bible says that unless the Lord builds, the builder builds in vain. So there is a God who helps the builder to build. Without God, the builder builds in vain. And without the builder, there is no building. And that is why the problem is. You cannot pray your way into first class in school. You need to sit down and study. And sometimes God will even make sure you fail because there's nothing in your head. One day when they call you to go and give a speak somewhere, you will mess up. And unfortunately, you will say that you know God. So there are a lot of things that a lot of people are not getting because they are praying their way into success. They are praying their way to get things. The things that God expects them to be doing themselves, they are praying their way, to get it. And it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, in Africa, we pray more than we do. Unfortunately, in Europe too, they do more than they pray. And so they also have problems. We also have problems. Because you need both to succeed. Are you here with me? So if you're praying and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you are unstoppable. Because you need both to be able to succeed in anything that you do. Most of the things that, you go to school and you learn, it's only the practical things that is supposed to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. And when we read Mark chapter 16, verse 20, the Bible says that, and the Lord was working with them, confirming his word with signs and wonders. He worked with them. So there is always a component of human efforts and divine efforts. So all the things about practical things, TVET and all that, is meant for you to be able to develop some skill so that God can use that hand to be able to do what you're supposed to do. Right? Please go ahead. And when you talk about human efforts are guided by principles. There is no topic that you can think about or no job you can ever think about where you don't have guided principles to make sure that whatever you're doing works. So principles and also your potentials. So we are talking about your abilities and talents, your potentials. There are things that when you develop, you're able to do well. Then the people that you surround yourself with, also are part of the human efforts through which God is able to help you. And the places you find yourself, and if you persevere enough and not give up. Because every dream would finally give way to a persistent dreamer. So those people who don't achieve their dreams, it's not because their dream was not viable, but because they gave up at some point in time. So all these things, you realize that human beings have to be working. One of the things you notice about all ICGC churches, last week I was at Takrady with them for 5 days. Fijai branch, Watered Gardens. I was there for 5 days for a seminar with them. 5 days. And every ICGC church you enter into is different. Everything is on point. This meeting, for example, I knew it would start on time. I knew. So when I was coming, I wanted to be here right before time because I knew ICGC would start before time. It wasn't by prayer, it's by planning. Do you understand what I'm saying? People had to intentionally think about it. So without intentional step, God is helpless. Without intentional steps, God is helpless. And there are a lot of prayers that God even doesn't want to hear because those prayers are supposed to be translated into human efforts. The things that you must be doing for yourself to be able to work out. So one of them is potentials. Please go ahead. Right. And when it comes to potentials and abilities, we always have a balance between nature and nurture. Nature are the things that you were born with when you came into this world. It is part of you. It can never be taken away from you. Nurture are the things that you pick from the environment with time. So depending on where you grew up from, you are going to pick certain things. I have never gone to carpentry school. I have never gone to any art school, never done any of them. Because it's me. Carpentry is me. The first day I told my daddy that I want to do carpentry. Also, if you want some Fiona, a doctor, carpenter, so my father told me, hey, that day I went to my room and I was messed up. Oh. but I'm a carpenter and a doctor. You can't take that away from me. And you have to realize that there are things that you're born with and there are things you pick from your environment. And most of the things I pick from my environment is because of all the villages I went through, whilst I was growing up. All the things that you think growing up is negative in your life is actually building you up for something very great if you focus on the lessons instead of the pain. Are you here with me? There are things that you may have gone through that those circumstances are meant to be able to help you develop certain skills so that you can use them later on. So most of the things that I know now, I learned it when I was growing up. I remember when I was in primary school, we were so creative, myself and my brothers, that even the school badge, we were printing it for students in our school, GSS and primary school. Because we wanted to save money to buy our first computer game. Can you imagine? So a lot of things that you study whilst you're growing up is meant to help you. Please go ahead. So when it comes to the abilities you have, there are about 5 of them. The first is your personal traits. Your personal traits, and I'm talking about your personality type. Who you are and how you see the world around you. There are some who are very, very calm and composed and quiet and diplomatic. Others are all over the place like me. You see, I can't even stand behind this, so I'm struggling. I was admiring her because I don't have that grace. So your personality type, the way you are, is not by chance. God created you to fit a certain kind of, working environment. So who you are, your personality, your character and charisma, the things that you come with when it comes to your interaction with others in a very good way is part of you. Please go ahead. Then your talents is what you were born with. So everybody who is born, you have talents, your natural abilities to be able to do things in a unique and special way. Then again, skills. Skills are the things that you develop along the line. So you have financial skills, you have leadership skills, communication skills, PR skills, and all those things. You learn as and when, you're exposed to them. Then again, we have spiritual gifts. For those who are Christians, the moment you're born again, and you're baptized by the Holy Spirit, your new birth ushers you into bigger and better and supernatural abilities we call spiritual gifts. And thankfully I have some of them. And even in my consulting room, it shows up most of the time. I remember I was working at 37 in 2011, and in the night, usually in the night, I walk around and pray that no patient will die. And one of my walks, I heard, go to room 1, bed 5, she's dying. Go to room 1, bed 1. I was wondering, what is this? So I went, this lady was dying. In the morning, we had done cesarean session for this lady, not knowing one of the stitches had come off. So we went up, we opened and we realized that one of the stitches we used to sew the womb has come off and she was bleeding. How did I know? I had to hear it. It's a gift that I have. So when you become born again, God ushers you into higher dimensions of gifts so that you can manifest Him and be able to function in a bigger and better and supernatural way. All those things are there. So it is also part of your gift. And there are several scriptures to talk about. Right? So the Bible says in Psalm 139 verse 13 to 14. It says what? You made all the delicate inner parts of my body. You knit me together in my mother's womb. So part of the strands that was used to weave you is your talents and skills. Are you understanding what I'm saying? God intentionally wove those things into your fabric. And He says what? Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. The problem with this is that a lot of people do not know it well. So they never develop it. They never use it. So you have been complexly made by God with special abilities to be able to do things in a more practical way, to be able to offer solutions to this world. Please go ahead. Right. So when it comes to your talents, your abilities and all that, you'd have to realize that your talents provide tangible solutions to this world. So because of my talents and everything that has to do with talents and skills and all that, the goal is to be able to provide tangible solutions to the things of this world so that you can meet a need. And that is the problem in Africa. We never produce anything tangible by ourselves. We have to import everything and pray for everything. And that becomes difficult. So your talents only helps you to manifest things in a tangible way so that you can be able to provide solutions to this world. Right? Then again, too, it also helps you make impact for God's glory. So there are a lot of people who are using their talents in many ways to actually promote God's kingdom. And that is also another dimension of using your gift. Making sure that God's name is seen through your talents is one of the ways to express your talents. Please go ahead. And when it comes to talent, I want to also stress that all of us are multi-gifted in many ways. There is no person who has just one talent or one gift. All of us have multiples unless we don't look for it. There is always something that is extra about you. One of them will be major, others will be minor. So each one of us are multi-talented in many ways. And if you're able to harness all the things that you have, then it will be able to help you do the things that you're supposed to do in a very, very mighty way. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who discover aspects of their talents and not the totality of their talents. So they don't maximize their full existence. And a lot of people, when they're growing up, they use their talents. The moment they grow up, they lose it. As though talents are for young people. So at some point they were singing. The moment they hit their 30s, they stop singing. As for 50s, they don't sing again. And everything dies down. But your talents are supposed to be discovered and used throughout your life, right? So it becomes the basis for your passion. You know, most of the career choices, some people may be in 2, 3, 4 careers and stuff like that. Then also it creates multiple streams of income. You know, some of the carpentry works that I get, the profit is someone's salary for 2 months, 3 months. So one carpentry you can do for 2 days and you have someone's 3 months salary. And when I'm charging, they are happy. And they are crying too, but I'll charge. You know, so multiple streams of income. If you read Genesis chapter 2, verse 10 down, it talks about multiple streams all supplying the garden. And one of them had gold and precious minerals in there. So all of us are multi-gifted. One of them usually is major and the rest are all minor to feed into the major. Are you here with me? So it doesn't matter whether you work in a bank or you work as a nurse or you work, somewhere else. There are other things you are yet to discover. There are other things you can do. Last time I picked this taxi driver and the way he can sing. But he's just singing in a taxi. And I'm sure he will never sing till he dies. You can go to the market and see people selling tomatoes and all those things. And if you were to interview them, you'll be surprised the gifts they have. But they never use it. And that is why in the clinic, I really don't like wearing lab coats. Because when you wear it, it's as though you are important, you have arrived. Meanwhile, that is only a piece of the things that God wants to do with your life. So there is more that you can do with your life so that you can be able to do well. Let me state here that full-time ministry does not necessarily mean leaving everything to preach. Full-time ministry may also mean using everything to preach. Using everything. So sometimes I even tell some of my friends who are in full-time, I said, if you have this architecturing gift or some other gift, why did God give that to you in the first place? If it was useless in your total purpose on earth, God wouldn't have given to you. So now the question is that, what have I discovered? What do I have the potential to do? And how can I use everything to be able to fulfill the purpose that God has for me? So you pay attention to each one of them and you develop and use them. So how do we leverage? How do we harness these things? The first thing I'll suggest you do, please click, is to discover. Set days where you just think about purpose and your talents. Have this deep introspection about yourself. Not to judge yourself, but to discover more about yourself. So have times where you just sit down. Instead of thinking about the problems you have, think about the solutions that can come out of your life. So have this, mindset of discovery. Sometimes in the night, I just sit down and think. I usually have a book that I write things down. And unfortunately, sometimes when I'm praying, I get flashes of designs. So I have a book where I draw and draw and draw and draw. So have this discovery mindset that every time that you even go before God, you are not going there to ask for things. You are there to discover. Sometimes you have 3 days, alone somewhere. just to discover things, just to study who you are and to discover a bit more about yourself. Because a lot of people never discover anything before they die. They become overly dependent on others and the system, such that if the system falls apart, they fall apart. But there are some people who are totally stable in any system because they have discovered who they are and they are ready to do what it takes to be able to move on to the next level. So have that discovery mindset. And at some point, you need to focus on what is relevant at the time. Because your life is a journey. And in that journey, there are points in your life where one of the areas of your life may become topmost, in terms of relevance. And that is what you must be using. For me, for example, it's not every time I do carpentry. This season of my life, there are things in my life that is topmost in terms of relevance. And you have to dedicate a bit more time to those things so that those things become major with your life. Then the next thing also has to do with develop. What it means is that intentionally acquire skills in the areas of your talent that you have discovered. And I use the word intentional because it should be part of your thinking. A lot of people leave things for default. It's like you're there, you have no plan, you are not intentional about anything, expecting something to just get up and hit you. You need to be intentional about developing that skill that you have discovered. And that is why you need to find out areas, that you can study regarding the area that you have discovered. So be intentional about, developing yourself in terms of your competence and your character regarding what you have discovered. A lot of people never develop anything. And the higher you go in competence, the more value you can add. And the more value will be placed on you. So, for example, in medical field, if you're a general practitioner, your pay is not really. But the moment you hit specialist level, you spend less time with clients, but more money. Because now you're specialized in your area. And it has to be an intentional thing to be able to do well. Then the next one is to deploy. Deploy means start doing the things that you have to do instead of waiting and waiting and waiting. Usually someone will put up, I saw a post on Facebook the other time, someone put up, KFC started his AE at 63, trying to motivate people that it's not too late. At 63 is late. Because you may not even live up to 63 and you may not even have the time and energy. At 63, they have hypertension, diabetes, stroke. They can't even do whatever they're supposed to do. So don't be procrastinating and encourage yourself that even KFC started at 63. You may die at 50 without doing anything about your life. So whatever you have to do, you do it now. Whilst you have strength and energy, this is the time to be able to do what you're supposed to do, right? So you need to be able to look at the season of your life and focus on what is important. Then the next thing is what I call the bridges. When you have a dream, that dream is your final destination. And the bridges are the things that may not be the dream, but only occupies you in a certain phase of your life so that you can get to where you want to get to. They are bridges. So for example, your goal is to become this business something. You have a business idea and that is the dream. But currently you have to work in a bank just to be able to, create some opportunities for you, create some experience, create something for you so that you can get to that dream. So wherever you work, that is not the dream. It becomes a bridge. Unfortunately, a lot of people build on their bridges, forgetting they are going somewhere. So out of convenience and things we call conditions of service, you go work at a place which is not the dream. You work there 30 years without moving into your dream. At age 60, you look back and say, did I really want to do what I'm supposed to do? And it's too late. A lot of people are building on their bridges instead of moving on to the dream that God has for them. So that is what I call the concept of bridge. And baby steps are the things you need to be doing on a daily basis, step by step, little by little to get to the dream. And I want you to know that to fulfill any dream, you need to be able to work at it on a daily basis. The daily little things you do are necessary to get you there. Then also big leaps. Big leaps are the opportunities that come. Big ones. So if you look at what she shared, she had, she was doing things and suddenly had a partnership from MasterCard or something, and everything started, changing in a very, very big way. So when you're faithful with the little things that you're supposed to do, you are positioning yourself for the bigger opportunities that God has for you. So you may be struggling with the little things, but you keep at it. You keep doing it. And one day something comes up with your life and transforms the journey, in a bigger way. Then the final thing I would advise is that don't give up. Every dream goes through 3 phases. The first phase is what we call the birth phase. The birth phase is when everybody is excited about your dream. You start something, you share with people, they are excited. They are coming to you, will help you, will do everything. Everybody, you have workers, they are all excited, they are putting in some energy. Then after a while, God initiates you into the death phase. Every dream goes through a death phase where challenges from nowhere starts coming. The people who promised never show up. Now the dream is not exciting again. You go to work and financial issues are coming up. Everything is all over the place. It's the death phase. And usually God ushers you into the death phase to prune you, to take away all the people who may not be necessary for the next phase. To be able to help you initiate systems that are more stable and more reliable. Then suddenly, he ushers you into the rebirth phase. Rebirth phase is a phase of accelerated growth, where little effort gives maximum results, and everything starts going well, and that is the phase of establishment. Unfortunately, a lot of people die in the death phase. The dreams die in the death phase when the challenges start coming. They give up on the way, forgetting that there's a rebirth phase. And there are a lot of dreams in this world, they will never collapse because they are in the rebirth phase. Because the systems are so solid that even if the founder dies, the thing will continue to move on. It is my prayer this evening that every dream you have will not die, but it's going to go from one level of glory to the other. Thank you very much.
Log your Wednesday evening for high-level networking, learning, and fellowship. It's about raising leaders and shaping vision to influence society through Christ. Practical Christianity Hangouts, exploring biblical answers to questions on economics, finance, leadership, governance, and the contemporary issues of our time. ICGC, the New Wine Temple, East Legon. This and every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be a power networking and cocktail session right after the program. Prepare to be pace setters in your family, ministry, business, finance, profession, governance, and your social life. Practical Christianity Hangouts. Join us this Wednesday evening and bring a friend. ICGC New Wine Temple. We are one big family in Christ.
I love Wednesdays. And for good reason. Let's put hands together for our resource persons. I hear that your applause is a reflection of your appreciation. If that is true, let's put hands together for our resource persons. I kept writing and telling myself, you know what, there's no other place I'd love to be on a Wednesday than right here at the PCH Hangouts. So this is your moment. This is that part of the program where you get to ask the tough questions that you've been thinking about throughout this session. And let me say a big thank you to Constance Swaniker for your thoughts. You really made my day. Thank you so much, Constance, for these thoughts. Newman Arthur. Isaac we've known for years, and he's always on point. Thank you, Isaac. We've been joined in this conversation by a youth development consultant and a certified counselor, Kafui Mills Odwe. Kafui, tell me what was going through your mind as they shared their thoughts.
I believe that where we are now, the challenge young people have are things around agency, amplifying their voice. They also have the challenge of resilience and how they deal with shocks. Now, all these are linked to how they can find jobs, maintain the jobs, grow in the jobs, whether it's wage-based or jobs they have created. And hearing the nuggets that were shared, it's all around how you can reinvent yourself when the external circumstances hit you hard. You have reinvented the way we look at skills by focusing on an aspect that we've always tried to downplay, mediocrity. And you have focused on ways in which you can leverage on the different components of skills, knowledge, abilities that you have, that you can hone in and make your life very simple. So young people here, this is something you would have paid extensively to have. I'm excited. So excited.
Let's put our hands together. I love this. I love the lining up behind the microphone. So I have loads of questions, but I'll defer to the ones from the audience. So you can do me a favor, just mention your first name and then ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael, and my question is this. It goes to Dr. Isaac, by the way. Please, I have multiple interests. I am passionate about business, psychology, and self-improvement. I am mostly able to pursue one interest at a time because of the level of excellence that I like to bring to my endeavors. But a part of me strongly feels like I'm wasting my potential by wasting my time. So I want to know how you were able to pursue all your multiple interests and be very good at them so that I can attempt to do the same.
What is your first name was?
Michael.
Michael. How many think Michael has asked your question? Let me see by hand. How many think Michael has asked your question? There you go. I had a feeling he'll be talking for a number of people. You have different abilities. You like all of them. How do you zoom in on it and try and you want to excel? How do you do it?
Let me use myself as an example. I didn't start off doing all that. You know, the discovery was in phases. So in medical school, I realized that I was very good with graphics. So I had a shop at Kolebu Market, actually, you know, where I did graphics and stuff. So it started off with medical school. Then the graphics things came up. Then along the line, I realized that I was very, very good with carpentry because anytime I slept, I had flashes of designs here and there. I didn't struggle to do it. So that also came along the line. You know, then other things also came up. I realized that I also love documentation. So every article or post or something, I'm very, very good at writing. Then I realized that, okay, I could also, you know, author books. So I started. You know, so every stage of your life, something comes up. Now, the question is that what is major and what are the minors? And the major ones, you realize that you have some deep passion for, you have some deep knowledge and understanding about, and you really don't struggle doing it. Then the others, you know, are minors. So you dedicate more time to the majors and you dedicate less time to the minors. But in all of them, you need to find a place for them, you know, in your activities. And what I do is that I really don't spend time on unnecessary things. You know, all my time is dedicated to something. So my day is kind of full with the things that I think is necessary. So sometimes in a day, you realize that because I've planned my timetable, you know, I've slotted some carpentry somewhere, you know, or graphic design somewhere. So instead of spending about 2 hours, 3 hours on social media, I dedicate that time to maybe doing some graphics. You know, so every time has a budget. You know, every time has, you know, something that you have to do with. So along the line, you realize that everything starts coming together in a very, very nice way. You dedicate time to the things that are relevant, and you also make room for the things that you think, you know, are not too major in your life, but fits into the major thing. And so that is what I do. And I make time for all of them because I've thrown away a lot of things that I think is not necessary, so that I can create space for the thing that I think is necessary. So that is for me. That is what I do. Yes.
Thank you very much. While we wait for your next question, Constance, you've become known for what you call, is it precision technology? Precision quality. And it's a very big thing. And obviously that is what distinguishes between what you do and what the average person in the industry does. My question, how do you marry that one and mass production? Because you're talking about entering the big league. How do you produce en masse and still maintain the precision quality that you talk about?
So, Albert, that's the biggest hindrance to why a lot of SMEs and companies cannot scale. I think that Ghanaian artisans and generally as a people, this is not something that is embedded in our DNA. There's something that I always say, that I have a little bit of OCD. I want everything to be perfect. But in a good way, because when you're doing really beautiful things, you should be deliberate and intentional about making sure that whatever is coming out is satisfying and will be pleasing to whoever is spending money to buy your product. There's no way you can scale and do things precisely at scale if you don't have this as the ethos of everything that you do. And that's why you find that we're unable to compete globally. So it's something that we realize that this is something that we need to talk about. And I'd like you to use your platform as we begin to look at job creation. That if we want to create this multiplier effect of thousands of jobs. Now, if I give you a job right now and I tell you I need a container load of this, you will not be able to satisfy the need. Which means that if you're using a pattern, make sure that there's a pattern that you're using, the right tools, those sort of things that will enable you. You can't produce at scale without the right equipment. If you're doing 4, you can hit or miss, but even that, once you are deliberate and intentional, that everything that has to be precise, how do we then really look at what would make me able to produce a container load, or 2 containers or 3 containers? And that is the stumbling block. And nobody really is looking at it. And this is a mindset thing. You have to be intentional. You have to understand that I need to be deliberate and intentional about what I'm doing.
So the key word is deliberate and intentional. Let me come to you, Madam Nels Odwe, and ask about, so in the next 3 sessions, that's today, next week, and next 2 weeks, we'll be looking today at technical abilities, the vocational sectors, next week at skills and job readiness, and the week after at agribusiness. But there seems various research suggest that young people don't want to go anywhere near some of these conversations, especially in the technical and vocational areas, and then also in agribusiness. Why?
I think Constance mentioned an experience and talked about the fact that that was why she created a shift. If you go to the campus and you interacted with learners instead of students, there's something she's deliberately doing. Nomenclature, that is actually the word itself. We need to have a change. Once we say agriculture, everybody is thinking farming and is thinking, hoe and cutlass. If you putting, even when corporate entities are putting posters together for International Day of Farmers, and you put up a rather, exotic, trendy looking farmer, they'll ask you to go back and make that farmer look dirty, And so I think what has been created through the name, through the practice, through the infrastructure, through the availability of the types of jobs, the curricula, the content is totally off. And I keep saying this over and over again, and you've been hearing it, that when we hear country music, when we see how country music is trendy, sounds, nobody thinks it's from a type of agriculture value chain. These are cowboys who were trying to entertain themselves and have come up with a genre of music. But we sit here and we think it's not, what they say, sexy, it's not exotic. So policies don't even invest funding into agriculture. If you go into an agriculture technical institute, it's not appealing to the eye. First of all, as you're young, it's a punitive measure. I mean, we've all had it as punishment. So behavior responds to what you have been exposed to or the triggers you've been exposed to. And one of the things is what we've talked about. So once we make the mind conceive that it is not pleasant, I don't think it's something anyone would want to think about. But if you think that if I read English, I can become a blogging expert or a vlogging expert, I can go on social media, I can become a journalist and focus on features in agriculture. I read music, dance, I can focus on producing content that can entertain people. I think that mind shift can start turning things around. And that is what we need, the paradigm shift. Let's start rethinking opportunities in agriculture differently. And look at it with, if you think ShopRite, nobody thinks it's agriculture. If you think koala, nobody thinks it's agriculture. But that is the end. That's the end part of the value chain. And things can change, I believe.
So you're thinking that probably we should educate ourselves about the length and breadth of the value chain.
Exactly. The wide opportunities. Just forget about just only thinking of primary production. Let's produce cassava, tomatoes. You can't all do that. Some would have to focus on haulage, transportation. Some would have to look at advertising, branding. Some would have to look at those who are sewing and even carpentry. How many of them are even thinking? Architects. Do we have architects who are now looking at constructing, trendy, market-driven cages for poultry farmers? And some people are even on social media who are looking at architects who are just building special dog houses. Those who love dogs, they just want to build, bespoke houses for dogs, kennels for dogs. But somebody thinks, what's that? So it's rethinking the whole idea. It's a whole chain. And then you can go into any aspect with whatever background you have and apply that in the sector.
Round of applause for Kafui Milsodu. Let me come to you, Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. You talked about parenting, and that's a huge one. I recall in one of our focus group discussions, a young person going into agribusiness, doing very well, whose father is a farmer, and the father knelt down and begged, literally begged, please don't do this to me. And you look at a study of the top 10 trending careers in the world today, and you will be surprised to find out that majority of them did not exist 10 years ago. So the parent trying to even socialize the child about career options is probably not even aware of where the money is. You are also into counseling, marriage counseling, parental. How should parents position themselves to guide without probably leading their children astray?
I would say two things. The first thing is that every parent would have to know that every child is in a certain stage of development. And every stage of development and what is relevant. So before 2 years, they move, they touch, they put things in their mouth. And the movement and touching helps with their cognitive development and creativity. So if a parent, your baby is moving around, you say, stop, stop, stop. You're actually killing creativity from that age. So you only create a safe space for them and allow them to move and explore. Then between 2 and 6 years, they actually in a stage where it's more of symbolism and imagery. So they associate things with tangible things. So if you talk about a doctor, you need to show them who a doctor is. If you talk about apple, you need to show them what an apple is. So a child around that stage, they need a lot of toys. Different things to be able to understand the world around them and develop, their cognitive skills. So kids who don't have toys and they don't have toys to play with, you're actually, creating a certain gap in the ability to be creative in later years. Then between the age of, 6 and 12 years, that one is more, they become more concrete and a bit logical and abstract in their thinking. So around that time, they ask 1,001 whys. So if you have a daughter or a son around that age, they will always come to you asking why. So if you're a parent and you shut them down, I'm tired, leave me alone, you actually help, making them, develop some, identity problems. They wouldn't be able to come forward with the initiative and the things that they're supposed to do. And in the teenage years, they want to be understood and accepted for what they are becoming. Suddenly, they become scientific and logical and stuff like that. And they actually want to decide for themselves. So every teenager will tell you that my mother and my father, they don't understand me. Because they've come to a point where they need to be able to build their own identity, their own worldview and independence. So parents would have to be aware of the stage of growth of their kids and be able to model things around that stage and not treat every child the same way. And that creates a lot of problems. Then probably the second thing I would say is that parents should observe their kids and allow them to be. In terms of, for example, my daughter is very, very good with drawing and craft. So every time I go home, she's doing this craft things. So in my mind, I don't have a picture about her future. I'm trying to steady her to be able to see what her interests are, her gifts area is, and what she wants to do. And that is what I'm doing as a parent. So parents shouldn't have an opinion about what the kids would have to do. They only have to provide guidance based on what they have discovered, so that their own preconceived mindset and what they think is okay wouldn't dominate the discussion. And especially parents who dictate, go to secondary school, you do science, you do arts. Meanwhile, the person is in business. There was a student who, medical school, they put her in tech, medical school. She said she wants to do fashion. So she was not studying, they sacked her from medical school. Then she came to Accra. Their father put her back in the medical school in Accra. And when the student came, she can't study, and when I saw her coming, she is fashion coming. I said, doctor, I want to do this, do that, and I don't. So a father is forcing that child to become what he was not created to become. And that can create a lot of people wake up to jobs that they are not happy about. If you meet any angriness or doctor, they are in a profession they don't love. So by the time the patient walks in, the person is angry. Meanwhile, you have not done anything to the person. So I think that parents should have to relate with kids according to the stage they may find themselves, and also not have an opinion.
Wow. That will be the last question, Portia, after which Reverend, my special guest, Reverend Kuja Mwasari, will tell me in 1 minute his learnings from today. But let's hear you, Portia.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, panelists. So my question is that to Ms. Constance, you mentioned that you had support from your mom to buy some items that you needed to start up something. But then Dr. Newman didn't mention anything about support. So I want to find out, in case you don't have such support from parents or loved ones or something, but then you still want to do, you still want to go into a passion that you want to start up, how do you go about it? And then also, we have this culture in Ghana that when you start primary school, go to senior high school, and then to the university, if you are able to go through that, but you find out, let's say in the university, that you have this passion, would you suggest that the person stops, especially if I'm not doing the course that will lead me into whatever passion that I'm into? Would you suggest that I defer, or I should just stop the school totally? Or, what should I do in that state?
Thank you very much. Constance, yours is first.
So the question is in two parts, so I'll take the first one. I think when I started my presentation, I said that nobody owes you anything. And I did also say that every young person will ask me, how did I start my business? And that's exactly what I hear every single platform. The first thing that you must have is the passion. People invest in your passion. They want to see that you're hungry. So that's the first thing. What is your driving force? What is driving you to do what you want to do? There's no price to that. So the only reason why my mom gave me seed capital that I had to pay back was that I was so passionate, it's energizing. That's the only thing that I'll say to you, that let your passion shine so brightly that somebody would want to take a chance on you. Sometimes even a stranger. That's the secret. Now, the second thing also is that she talked about the pathways. If you discover that you really like something, and at which point do you maybe focus on the lane, or maybe you can diversify. I tell you something, when I was 16, after my O-levels, I didn't want to continue schooling. So I dropped out of school. I think this is something that I'm sharing for the first time ever. I wanted to study hotel management because I thought it was such a glamorous job, working in a hotel. My mother said that the most important person in the hotel is a receptionist. That the receptionist is the only person anybody sees. So this is not a job. I was adamant I wanted to do hotel management. So I was told, okay, you can go and try out working in a hotel. So I actually took a gap year, 1 year. And the first job that I did, scrubbing dishes. I was taken into the kitchen, and for 6 months, scrubbing dishes. After that, then I moved to making breakfast. And only after 9 months did I spend a day in the reception. I think after that, I told her that I have experienced what she meant. And so I'll pursue my interest in art. And this was in Botswana, because remember I mentioned that I grew up in Botswana. So that's how I actually found my way back to Ghana, because I didn't live here. I left Ghana when I was 5. So after sitting at home for a year, I said, okay, anything. So I went to Accra Academy, and then I did my A-levels and found my way back to my true calling, which is the passion. And if I hadn't taken that gap here to really try out, and it's okay to try things out, that's okay too. But how do you learn from your own experience and learn from it? And I always say that when we talk about our path, nobody really talks about the failures and the lessons. But how do we learn and fail forward? That's the only advice that I would give you. Yeah. So now I've let out a secret, right? I dropped out of school for a year.
Wow. Thank you very much. Let me give you a minute each to give us your closing thoughts, and I'm going to come to you, Kojo, in a minute. But Kafi, let's start with you, your closing thoughts. I've just enjoyed this, and I wish we could do this all evening, but your takeaways for today.
I think I'll build on the issue of passion and say, follow your passion and intentionally put the blocks together. Remember that every single thing works ultimately for good. I remember, just briefly, when I didn't get architecture, I thought my world had ended. It was architecture or suicide. Those days, how we used to say it. Akito or suicide. I didn't get it. And then it became, okay, then let me do BSEC. BSEC too, I didn't get it. Then I was told, okay, we have room for English and French, and then you do diploma in education. I said, what? I tell you today that diploma in education is what has helped me develop cross-boundary youth programs internationally. What I didn't respect is what has pushed me to where I am today. So I will tell you, follow your passion, but any other thing that comes as a diversion, positive, build on it.
So I would also say that no matter where you are employed, you are bigger than that office. When you discover other aspects of your life, you realize that that office is too small. Because you may be a doctor with a voice to sing. You're bigger than the consulting room. So don't limit yourself to that office. Discover other things and do it. Then secondly, I would say that, focus on the journey instead of the moments. If you're on your way to Cape Coast and you have a flat tire in Kaswa, you don't abandon the whole journey because of the flat tire. You change the flat tire and you get to Cape Coast. So sometimes it's only a bad day, not a bad life. So don't give up on your dreams just because you're having some challenges.
Constance, you've had your turn, but you're going clockwise, so you can close us. You have the final take.
The final take, I think also what you said, Kafu said, also resonates with me. Somehow the dots do connect. That's the only thing that I'll say. The dots do connect. And I think the beauty about life is just trust the process. And there's something that you also said about spiritual efforts. And I think this is something that a lot of business owners don't talk about. That divine grace on your business, that is not our might. And when a lot of people tell, oh, you've done well, I'm like, it's not me. That it's sometimes favor. And I think that's something that is not written in any business books. It's not written anywhere. I think this morning we talked about paying it forward, right? That when you pay it forward, the people, the angels who would help you walk your journey to help you reach that destination would also get you there.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Wow. A big thank you to you, Constance Swaniker, Isaac Newman Arthur, and Kafui Mills Odwe. Let me give the microphone to my colleague, the pastor of the beautiful ICGC-THE Temple in Tema and the district supervising minister for Tema. Also, tell me, you are here at PCH for the first time. Your impressions and your takeouts from this conversation. Come, join me.
First of all, I want to commend you and Comfort for putting this beautiful program together.
Thank you.
I personally came here to learn this model and probably duplicate it in where I pastor. Brilliant ideas. Everything that had happened here this evening had firmed up my fundamental belief principle, and that concept is that success is scientific, and anything that is scientific can be duplicated. Listening to these wonderful speakers, it had confirmed the position of consistency, dedication, faith in God, determination, passion, and drive.
One thing that struck me, it's almost like the two of them went for a rehearsal. But have the two of them met before? The two of them haven't met, but it was almost like they had rehearsed their thoughts. Did you notice the common strands?
Yeah, right.
Right. Let me give you a chance to speak to especially, and I know we have many young people here, many accomplished business leaders here, but I want to ask you to do me a special favor, and especially the 120 students from DTI who are here. Let me give you a minute to say something special to them, just to boost their morale for the journey ahead.
Young men and women, I want you to be excited about what had happened here tonight. You have been given a lot of information. These are tested, proven information. These people who are on the platform are people who have achieved in life. So they are sharing their practical examples with you. I want you to take up these keys and work with them. When the angel was sent to visit Mary, he told Mary that she's highly favored and God is going to do something supernatural with her. And when Mary heard this information, he asked the angel, how will this be? Yeah. And the angel gave Mary two answers. First, he said, the Holy Spirit will overshadow you. And secondly, he said, your cousin Elizabeth, who was considered barren, is 6 months pregnant go and learn the practicality of pregnancy from her. So Elizabeth was in the same industry, probably for a lack of better word, and that was what Mary was going to be introduced to. But if Mary is able to pattern her life after that of Elizabeth, she will progress and she'll be successful. So I really want to encourage you, pattern your life after successful people, and success will be yours. Thank you.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Before he says our closing prayer, and we will do our wow moment. I promised that one. I would like to say a big thank you to our 16 CEOs, our mentors who came earlier on and spent a priceless hour. Let's have our mentors on your feet. All our mentors on their feet. Please, let's give them a rousing round of applause. Thank you so much. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you for spending time with the young people. We truly celebrate you and thank you for the investment. Please come again next week. There will be a different cohort. Next week, we are also joined by students from UPSA. It's going to get bigger next week. So please come again next week and let's do this again and be a blessing to them. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Before we do our wow moment, just say a prayer for everyone here. And let's bow down our heads as we pray.
Gracious Father, we thank you for such an amazing experience. We pray that the information that we have received tonight will transform our life to conform to the image of your Son. Influence our mind, hold us by the hand, and plant our feet on higher grounds. Hold us and lead us in all our deliberations. Let a supernatural strength come upon everybody under the sound of my voice, and also the power of transformation. We pray that you will guide us in our dealing. Take us from bad company. Bring us into good companies, people who will influence our lives positively. And let your word be a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Safu. Let's put our hands together for Reverend Kojo Amwasare and appreciate our special guests as they go down to the seats. Thank you so much. Let me help you down. Thank you. Oh, let the applause reflect your appreciation. All right. Let's have my two baskets at the side. Before I do my wow moment, I know that in PCH we don't highlight offerings, not because we don't believe in offerings, but we believe that if you have been inspired by what has happened and you want to help us cover the cost, it shouldn't be required, but the basket is here. So if you want to help us cover the cost of what we do, it's a good time to come and do it right now. So while you do it, let me remind you, so you can come. I won't sing, I won't do anything. If you want to, I'm told to put the digital channels on the screen. So please put the digital channels on the screen for those who want to help us digitally. We want to make this, take this to the next level every time for the young people so that they can come in their numbers. And we are having a conversation about, Kwame, about the community. So the next level of this PCH is to take it to the community in a way you've never seen before. And in the next few weeks, we'll be rolling out the next phase. Season 2 has been far bigger than Season 1, but Season 3 will be very spectacular. And we are trusting that it will be very special. So if you want to support us, just do this. And while we do it, let me remind you that next week, we'll be featuring Professor P.K. Richardson from the Manchester Business School. He will be taking us through how to upskill and the secret of lifelong learning. Those who think that you have finished school, please, next week you'll find out that you haven't even begun. So next week we'll talk about lifelong learning, and our guest will be Professor P.K. Richardson from Manchester Business School. He'll be followed by Rosie Ebe-Arthur, who will teach us about how to upskill and reskill to stay relevant. One day somebody asked a question. They said they went to work and found out that the way the work is going, nobody has sacked them, but they are useless in the office because they have no clue about the new technologies being used, the new systems being used, and there was a bit of desperation. And when that happens, then you begin to bind that person from university who has come fresh and seems to have all the skills that are needed. Rosie will show us next week how to upskill and reskill to stay relevant. And then the last session before we break for our 40 days of power will be a session on agribusiness and technology with a special focus on social media. We'll find out how to use social media profitably and not in the ways in which others are using it. And that is for next 2 weeks. So you lock down this week, and next 2 weeks for PCH Hangouts, and it promises to be very, very special. So a big thank you to all our resource persons and to all of you for coming. Let me be joined by Rosalind, my colleague, to come and help me do the wow moments. I'm sure some of you, that's all you're waiting for. A promise kept. So here's how it works. Everyone who came in filled one of these slips. Everyone. So in this, okay, let me see the third prize. Okay, so this is the third prize. The third prize is 2 books, 1,001 Tips for an Outstanding Life and Snakes and Ladders. 2 books. So this goes to the third prize. Oh, okay. Let Mr. Kwame Mantiao pick the third prize winner. Kwame, come and pick. And somebody's praying that you don't make a mistake. So Kwame, pick the third prize winner. Please, hey, is it stir it well? Okay, you have picked. All right, thank you very much, Kwame. The third prize winner is Tina Fafa Akoli. Oh, Doc, come and present it for us. Hey, Tina. Oh, Charlie, God is good. I tell you something. You have won 2 books, and this is your giveaway for coming to the Practical Christianity Hangout. Tina Fafa Akoli. Thank you very much. Second prize, 1,001 Tips, Snakes and Ladders, and then a smart band. It's like a watch that you can use to measure your exercise routine. Digital watch for monitoring your fitness and exercises. Charlie, let Reverend choose an anointed choice. Yes. Hey, these ladies. I'm sure Kawu is happy. The winner, Eunice Keswa Tufua. Where is Eunice? All right. Eunice gets to win. Rev, please present it. Reverend Amwasari, come and do the honors for us. Eunice Keswa Tufua gets to win the digital wristband and all the books. Thank you very much. Now, this is the one that I know you are praying for. All right. A brand new mobile phone, all the accessories, a hardcover copy of the same book, 101 Keys to Achievement and Fulfillment, Snakes and Ladders, a Samsung Galaxy A14, a 64 GB hard drive, 64 GB, 4 GB RAM, Android 13, and all the accessories all put together. Big sis, Felicia Chumesi, agribusiness entrepreneur, my dear sister, please come and choose. Choose well. Be led. Charlie, somebody always cross this one. Felicia, don't go. Huh. The winner has a Vodafone number that ends with 3. Thank you very much. Who has a Vodafone number that ends with 3? Oh, come. You've won. Come. Oh, come. You've won. A Vodafone number that ends with 3. What's your first name? What's your first name? Henry. Henry and Rose. Henry and Rose. Is there anybody else with a Vodafone number that ends with 3? You know how they were looking for the king and they said, oh, is there any other one around? Is there anybody else with a Vodafone number that ends with 3? Okay, come on, let's try. You may never know. On 3, 2, 1. Rose and Henry and Regan. Is it Rose, Henry, or Regan? Henry. Oh, of course, Henry has fans. The first 2 winners were female. The third winner is a male. So thank you, Rose. Thank you very much. You can go back to your seat. Okay, so the 2 of you come and stand here. Is it Henry or Regan? Henry. Oh, how? Take your time. Is it Henry or Regan? Henry. Auntie Felicia. I'm going to get... Where's my microphone? I thought I had a mic. The winner of the phone, the books, and the accessories is...
I think you all guessed wrong. It's Ohene, Regan, Ohene.
Regan Ohene is the winner. Harry, just for coming, you've won yourself a prize. When they close, I'll give you 2 books, okay? Especially for you. So see me when we close. But Regan Ohene is the winner, and Auntie Felicia gets to do the honors. Why, you know him? Oh, you see.
Who's Henry, that guy? No. You are Regan. Yes, I'm Regan. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Regan. Put your hands together. Don't worry, Henry, I'll give you 2 books just for being in the final. All right, so thank you all very much. Next week, we are doing this again, and it promises to be bigger, better, and greater. So once again, on behalf of the leadership of the New Wine Temple of the International Central Gospel Church, and a special acknowledgement to our partners, the Ghana Growth Program, the MasterCard Foundation, Access Human Capital, Limehouse, and a special appreciation for the Design and Technology Institute. Let's put our hands together for all our partners. Thank you so much for coming. Let's share the grace together. Right after this, we're going downstairs. There's a big reception, and please, man shall not live by bread alone. It's that place that the young man got a job. So when you go, please talk to the CEOs, interact with them, and you may never know what will come out of it. So let's rise up as we take the benediction. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you all so much for coming. Good night.